Many comedians today are pagans and heathens and other form of derelict idolaters.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
But my producers assure me there are Christian comedians. And so now I am to bring my cultural expertise and my innate sense of humor to adjudicate the comedy of these Christians. Take it away.
America's best-known atheist, Madalyn Murray O'Hair, is missing and hasn't been seen for weeks. Her family is asking everyone to not pray.
That's pretty good. I suppose I was surprised to see Norm lumped in as a Christian comedian, but Norm was Christian. And he was pretty emphatically Christian, even though he didn't lead with it. You know, he didn't clobber you over the head with that. And he would sometimes make jokes about religion, but he was definitely a Christian. So that's good. And he's the best comedian ever. So, yeah, okay, good. We're starting out strong. Next one.
Some people think God created the universe. Some people think nothing created the universe, which is the funniest guess. And the nothing people make fun of the God people. They say God doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. So what are we talking about? Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree, if your nothing sometimes spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty goddamn magical nothing, you guys. And ask the nothing people, what happens when you die? They'll tell you, nothing. You go into nothing. I'm like, you mean you merge back with your creator? That's heaven.
Theologically, a little bit off the mark. The existence of God can be known with certainty from natural reason, and heaven and the new creation, the new heaven and the new earth are probably a little bit more nuanced. But I'm reading too much into it. That's a funny bit. It's actually never occurred to me. The people who mock us for saying that God created the creation would substitute that with nothing. Yeah, God doesn't exist. Oh, yeah? Well, then you should believe in him, because you think that the thing that created all of us is a thing that by definition doesn't exist. So that's good. That's a good bit. I can't believe that never occurred to me. Okay.
I don't know if you guys have heard of Christopher Hitchens. He wrote a book called God Is Not Great, which they sell at the airport. I saw a guy buying that shit at the airport. I went up to him. I was like, arrival or departure, homie? I need to know. I need to know if you're going to my city, so I got to buy 3 Bibles to balance this whole shit out. Anyway, so Christopher Hitchens, what he would do for a living, he would go around the world giving speeches about how God doesn't exist. And then he died recently. And you want to know what he died from? Vocal cord cancer. That sounds a lot like God going...
Wow, rough joke, but that also never occurred to me. I'm not suggesting one read deeply into it, seriously, but that is wild. See, this is something about good comedians. Even in, standard bits or even bits that don't go over all that well, they usually can see something that other people aren't quite seeing. That's kind of the defining feature of a comedian, is he sees something just a little bit off that rings true when he says it. And that can be funny because of the fallenness of the world. We see absurdities and incongruities. That was a good bit too.
A sneeze started this entire situation off, okay? I'm standing next to this guy. He turns towards me and he sneezes like this. He goes, "Ugh!" I looked at him and I went, God bless you. Guy looks at me and very condescending, he goes, yeah, I'm an atheist. I'm trying to be polite. I don't know you're an atheist, right? And even if I did, what am I supposed to say when an atheist sneezes? When you die, nothing happens. He goes, well, what about you? What did you grow up? I said, well, I was raised Catholic. What do you believe happens to you after you die? And I said, okay, well, hopefully I live a good life and my soul goes to heaven. He's giggling. He's like, do you believe this? This is what... So he's laughing at my beliefs, and finally I just snap back, what about you? Okay, what about you, all right? What happens to you after you die? Now he gets very serious, like he's gonna school me, okay? I know what's going to happen to me after I die. After I pass on, my body will become one with this earth. And with that, I will return as a huge, beautiful tree. I hope when he dies, he does become a tree. And wouldn't it be fantastic if while he was out there just enjoying his treeness, through the woods, a huge, sweaty guy with an axe comes along, sees him, chops him down, smash, put a chain around him, drag him through the mud and the muck, throw him into a sawmill, grind him up. Then you pound him down into paper, and once he's paper, you print the Bible on him.
Wow, man, I haven't watched Dane Cook in so long. I'm now remembering that this guy used to play insane venues with thousands of people in it, which like 3 comedians ever have done. And then after the 2000s, Dane Cook fell out of favor, and people would make fun of Dane Cook and they say he wasn't funny, and he kind of disappeared from popularity. I am calling for a Dane-assance. All winners so far. And Dane Cook he's due for a comeback. I'm instituting now a Dane-assance.
He was actually a member of Muirfield Village here, and that's all I needed to hear. He was my new best friend. What I didn't know about him was he was a fundamentalist Christian, and I didn't know that. And we're sitting on the fairway one day just talking. And we're talking about life, we're talking about this, we're talking about that, and then he brings up the Bible. And I said, don't give me the Bible, I don't want to hear the Bible. And he says, what do you mean? And I said, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in that garbage. And he says, well, what is it about the Bible you don't think is true? And I said, I don't know, I never read it. And he said, well, you're not an atheist, you're a moron. And I have to tell you, I would have hit him, except that I would have lost access to Muirfield Village. And I wasn't going to do that. And I asked him to explain himself, and he said, well, to be honest with you, a true atheist is not only a biblical scholar, but is scholarly in all the face of the earth. And after a long intellectual journey has come to the conclusion that there is no God of the universe. You, on the other hand, want to circumvent the entire intellectual process and just come to the conclusion that there's no God. That's lazy and moronic. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, you're right, man. That's totally true. Even if you are an atheist, to be educated, you have to have read the Bible. You can't understand pretty much anything about Western culture, literature, paintings, the whole civilization without having a pretty decent familiarity with the Bible. But all these atheists that you see going around the internet, they'll come out and they'll say, well, did you know? You know, they've got the fedora on. Did you know in the book of Numbers, actually, God makes a woman do something bad or something? I think I saw it on a meme once. There are atheists, a handful who have been intelligent people in history. I think of like Bertrand Russell, who, by the way, admitted that the ontological argument is sound. Fedora guy who hasn't read the Bible and just throws his hands up in the air with an undeserved condescension. You ain't Bertrand Russell, man.
So if you go to hell, you chose it. And you will not sit there and argue with him. You'll know what you've done.
Is that Dennis Leary?
And if you're an atheist, let me tell you something.
Is that just a guy who looks
That's
like Dennis
your
Leary?
dilemma. If we all die and there is no God, it's just eternal unconsciousness, you'll never know. But if you're wrong, you'll know forever. And it's not a gamble anybody should take. Well, what are you saying? I should just believe in Jesus so I don't go to hell? Pretty much.
Yeah, that was Pascal's conclusion, one of the great geniuses of modernity. And Pascal had some kind of off-religious views too, but it was broadly Christian. And Pascal's wager is pretty much what that guy was just laying out. Now, of course, you should not merely believe in God and practice religion because you dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell, but you should do it because God is all good and deserving of all your love. But it's not a bad start. Not wanting to, as Norm Macdonald once said elsewhere, not wanting to be by the devil for eternity it's actually not a bad place to start. It's not the end of the story and you should grow spiritually, but Pascal was a smart guy. Okay, what's my favorite one? So I think I'm going to give it to Dane Cook, actually, because it's very hard to do that kind of humor that's so physical, and he took you on a meandering joke. It wasn't obvious. You didn't know exactly where it was going to land, and we're due for a Dane-assance. So Dane wins. Atheists lose. Take that, Reddit. I'm Michael Knowles. We'll see you next time.